Looking into the eye of starless midnight, I thought our feelings would collide. The mirror would not resurrect, and its shards were only safe now to fall upon. Each shard seemed to harbor an excess, and a self that shouldn't be sat cringing in its form, hiding away from view. They came in conflict with the lamplight, and gradually coalesced as it faded from view. The world had finally drowned, and the reflections that had faded lingered in the place of stars that could no longer be seen, unbroken ceilings. Let the mirror tell how it was made. She left in spring. The oaks were then blue as ice. The haunted wind stirred the trees, stroked the leaves, and then lay declined upon the ground. Of late the moon had stained the ground, and upon the ground where flame would leak from hoary tree bursting of dying light. Now there turned not restless umbra of winter's approach, turning leaf, but the form in which pounding heart would wake, but that proved weak, for he had lay in chill and frost, and many a season had turned and been lost, since he had been dragged through a lake, and swam, but descended to a deep palace of night. The child night had rested, wandered, seeking forms of gold in chattering tomes, and shivering threads of silver webs. And now it is time to kill someone. He stretched forth his long spear, stripped from the tail of a meteor's bright silk, and stretched to test the blood of the amber sky, which hid behind the azure face of the morning. Stir, as from a spell, the leaping pity of the down-pressed grass, and, downtrodden, stir the humble to the spikes of war. And the world stirred, as a stream moved, and a bird alighted upon a tree. She looked into a fire, and it spat back, embers signifying their contempt. "He is coming down the steps," she said, "of the old house, the older man. She is coming down the steps," she said, "of the older house, the older man. And she is still falling down the steps," she said, "of an older house, of an older hand, a monster pushing out the screaming from my dreams. He is pushing down the sand," she said, "of an older storm, and down is dripping maggots and rot down the old stream, where the old man is pushing down an ugly dream into a puddle, into the white world, where it is frost, and where I shall scream, if I am so brave as to venture out into that stream." "This is where my goldfish died," said the child knight, the haunted man. And he looked into a stream, and would it answer back? She was trying to explain the horrid knots which had taken the place of the ribbons in her hair, and the corpse declined at that to feel that it could care. A corpse sat drowned by oaks, a sepulchre of dark clouds which weren't telling. And in iron it rusted, ruddy and grim, and completely brown, which dwelt in that land where sound could not be found, because there would be no telling the neighbors. And a horse was braying, begging to ascend the hill, but don't ask where we're going. Just leave. That's nothing I need to feel guilty about, the child thought. Maybe if I thought I could remember it again, and hold it, the skeleton of that fish that died, because he killed it. Deep into the slumber I will delve, drowning all the time. Into the palace I will dwell, the palace of drowned things, the place where the smoke goes, where the murmurs go, once the funeral spectators have dispersed, laughing at the corpse. I am trying to tell you my story, she said, of why I tried to run away. And you failed, didn't you? I'm still holding the shadow in the corner. And you shaped it into me, didn't you? Why was I born? He said it was a bitter voice, and it wasn't allowed to call its name. I'm not allowing you to call yourself me any longer. Be done with the reflections and the similarities. We are just starting to die, you and I. I was born to be encapsulated in iron, to be a prisoner And to imprison, said the skull, the ghost of a soul, who was now at this point only rusting iron. You are not as strong as me, boy. You are not as strong as me, said the man. I am the knight, and a knight of old, of wounded trees that carve letters, of words engraved into rocks, and I will dive instead into wintry ice under the blue sky in the watery place. Then who will save me? The woman said. In the dark corner she sat, cradling her heart. I will seek there the skeleton of the fish who died, of the fish that died, drowned beneath the sky, beside the lake, because he could open his mouth. And we can only swim because we keep our mouths closed in this horrible land beneath the lake. I am drowning, woman. Why don't you bring me up? Why don't you look at me? Said the skeleton in the iron cage. My eyes are so fierce, they will burn this water in which you drown. I'm not going to look any more. Rocking back and forth, she said. Nothing. And then, you know, we all started saying what a magnificent soul he had, the man thought. And then, you know, we all started saying what a bastard he was, the boy thought. I'm not going to look any more. The grass was green, and the world was normal, and absolutely nothing was wrong. He had finally burned the entire sky down, the skeleton thought. There finally wouldn't be any words that weren't about him. The fire spear had lit the depths of old ochre-hued palaces, the deep realm. The drowned world, which I created, the father thought. His teeth were grim, but painted immaculately white. It was normal to put a plot of grass over a problem to make it go away. Of ancient sea tombs I seek, said the boy, the shivered bones wreathed in watery grass of a bold speaker and a wrecker of men, of a horse that knew of the magic things, but died before he could speak them. I am the mountain that breathes forth fire, and nothing beneath me moves. I am the flame, and I kill all life in this land. And I am the skeleton king that rules over this gray, hollow land that will not be once I am gone, said the skeleton man. And there is someone who is not speaking over in the corner, but do not disturb them right now. O grand waiting king beneath the waters, in the still place beneath the transient tides, I am the man who seeks the wandering people. I am the one who is drowned beneath the tides. And we shall need someone to speak. Shall it not be the one who is silent over by the corner? The boy remarked. Why did you leave me here? The watery king remarked as she turned from the corner. They stood in their powerful glory, the changed thing. You were supposed to rescue me. The water that laid over her cheeks were of purest crystal, signs of true nobility, he thought. I am the voice that speaks in this drowned world, the one who was destined to bring a voice to this silent realm, said the hero who pretended to be a boy. A skull floated outside, attached to a piece of armor which weighed down the entire world. And the boy struggled to speak. The words that could have spoken are a shadow that spends its life upon the gray plain, wandering in pursuit to trace its hand over a mirror, and searches for form, yet yields always to the light by which it might have been known. He couldn't count upon the tapping of the glass, or else he would fall asleep in this world, and then he would float about, silent, like the drowned princes. So visions of the sky entered into his throat, and the words danced about again. I will hold the muzzle that you never could, over a raging beast that you never could.
If you're that bold, why don't you look at me then?
We dwell under a forest of waves, under the sky of water bright as juniper, and yet our throats are parched and without water. I tried to give you a home, said the king. Then why must we starve? Over this world of glass there is not a single ornament but that which our fingers have traced over the dew, which does not suffer to remain with us long so until our hot breath has chased away our dreams, and we have lain by the corridors and by the dark places, and watched dreams walk by with shadowed feet and shattered steps, and grieved and with distrust and voiceless pain distanced ourselves from the pity of life, as we have slept abroad, afeard of a beast that had learned how to walk. And was I for this to have learned never to make a fist, that I must be a shadow by the roadside and die here? For your fear, am I to be a veil, and cover us both, like a web of spiders, a work of cobweb, and over us be stretched, like a frail spirit of the vesper, never close to light? By my fist, struck against a wall, I shall work myself a grieve, and from this pain harden my fist into metal.
I'll cook you inside this world of hate, said the skeleton to the man, so that, no matter where you flee, you shall never escape this drowned world.
What was around them here, in this world? It was hard to see what figures sought shelter here. Sometimes only two, sometimes the world, and at other times the dim figures seemed to be of similar shapes, only of different sizes and of distorted shape, like a prophecy lost amidst lyres. And the voices said from amidst the shadows, Have you forgotten about me? Of sunlit places I have no words to speak. In truth, even above these waves it has grown dark. But spirit who dwells beneath these waves, as a shadow, do you not know that if all becomes dark, you shall be lost to the world? Therefore suffer that some light should be in this dark place. And who shall bring this light to me? I know that your hands are pale, and strange though your voice, you are the frog who first descended this watery place, and never returned. How is it you don't know me? She said. A being, a life that was born when my eyes didn't question death, and I didn't know why there's something floating outside right now. Little threads and wire, and a call. A voice that a hand could not reach. And now it floats about this sunken world, looking in. They are both there. And though these eyes are pale, she said, I look always outside this glass, into worlds I don't know, and into intentions of floating dolls. Which once could have been people, the hero remarked, but never became so, this creature spoke. And when cries were hid by howling winds, and the trees were sobbing outside, I stood outside sometimes, even though you were always hid behind windows, and watched as the clouds clawed to take away the moon, the final thing outside that blackness. Quiet, you'll make them sad. They never got to see that. And from the tip of his accursed finger he would have them stare at the figures floating around their solemn world, but that could never enter in. I drowned too,
And you tell me not to speak? I'll become that weeping form in the corner again.
And did they drown too? Even a hero could never wake up those with no voice in their lungs, the boy thought. Even a hero could never defeat sleep. And in sleep I found my voice, said the broken man. Then, said the boy, tell me what you see in the corner.
I see the ghost and the rain of many summers past, when you did not know that you did not know. I saw the glittering light that wrapped around me, gold that fell from the sunlight, long strands that were gifted by a willow. Ink and colors I drew from the thorns, and there was sunshine and happiness there, things that I don't see in the darkness.
Then why do you look there?
Because I don't have to look there.
And she pointed to them, those little eyes that were watching her.
They are looking at me, but I don't have anything to give them, not even my arms.
You spend all your time holding yourself in a corner. If we focus too much, this dreamy vision of a watery realm will be done, and all that will be the shadowy realm. And there is no rising above the surface of that place. So do not travel with me down that endless road, that road that leads to no place, where I am in the middle of the street, because at least here we can speak of breathing, and here we may speak of your lost voice.
Weren't you searching for something?
Yes, the wandering men, those who won't return home. Underneath the world of being, the earth is shattered with dark light. Little glances dot and trace lightly through the land-parched sky, but die before the task they take to fall into this world, into the mire, into the sky-fled hold, where arms grasped and never let go, deep into the depression of sound. Drowned angels float, down where there is no breathing, and the chill is beyond feeling. Courtly, stately little jewels, their pride and joy, broken little dolls, missing eyes. Hair lost in darkness, if it ever had been, streaming away into the unknown, where it is dark and where there is no knowing. Immaculate clothing, made of porcelain. The drowned princes float, unable to leave a world that cannot leave them.
They are finally outside the reach of the burning hand of that skeleton in a suit of armor, said the mother. But, Mother, they are dead.
Open mouths, as though wondering what is air, trying to imitate that distant world. Their short limbs aren't enough to reach that infinitely distant place.
They aren't moving.
Mother, why must you stare at them?
My chest is empty.
They're starting to stare back. What color could their porcelain skin have if she could touch their fingertips?
Do you hear my voice, even through echoes, through dark waters, as they glide along the surface of the glass, of this world from which there is no leaving? And would you know my words, if we were to meet? Were you ever able to hear my voice?
Speak no more to the darkness, but I have an emissary to tell of. The mother turned to the sun. He for a moment seemed a blossom of a yellow sky. There is no speaking in this drowned place, in this lightless world, in this murky place from which there is no moving on. But there is one who can transcend this place of being, and this place of sleep, of eyes held closed, of eyelids forced shut. This is the creature who drowned in the air. He was killed because he spoke, but I remember him, a memory before names that can exist in silence, even in dreams and closed eyes. This emissary can pierce the blue night without stars, can swim through the dark path, the dark waterway, from you to them. But there is no speaking through them. They have lost their voice, so you must give them a voice, and give them fake words to say, so that I can speak to them too. The emissary, not the dolls.
Mercy, greater than air being forced down my throat through a straw reed, that you have brought me such a wonder, and anointed me with the poison of a persistent cough. And remember, boy knight, that I have always had to rely upon you.
Round is the face of a clock, the voice is set against waves, and next to it a shrunken doll which never grew. Blackness streaming about, crystal white faces, unblinking eyes. An expressionless face yearning to be strong, and the glass that they look into looks like a frozen droplet that fell from above, and that had drowned their inhabitants in a frozen world of many droplets. Where silence dwells, where memories are, where there is hate, and a skull in a suit of armor sitting in a corner, trying to be looked at by a woman weeping there. Like little stars that never reach this world, the little figures slowly are turned about this earth,
An empty place that had become sterile.
a face that wanted to be strong, glass marble eyes, and painted lips that were cold and pale, red, the color of a warrior. The paler of the two was shrunken nearby, with a cracked eye, the one that was further away. What hand was it that wrought the doll that almost looked human? And what caused the hand to stop? What force shattered that eye?
Black eyes.
Their feet are dangling, always falling, never moving, never found. The lip of the strong one never moved.
Mother, look at me. Birther of light, said the boy knight.
Look at the night that has dwelt beneath the waves. The armor I wear is not ground earth, but frozen from this world. And I have avoided, he said, becoming a metal man, though for how much longer I do not know.
I wonder if the little one silently cries underneath the waves.
If you cannot know it, I can.
How?
Some things dwell always beside you, but I have a messenger to bring to you, but only by the authority of a king can it be revived.
I am the Sea King, said the noble frog, and what you ask is just.
And I wish, only, that I had never put you in that pond. But since the days cannot be retread, and I fear we shall lose the knowledge of time in this land, and so lose the way out, forgive my wrongs, O Lord, that you may resurrect the skeleton, but not the bad one.
Where is he in this dark place?
He dwells as a skeleton, O Lord, in this dark place. He swims through memories and feeds off of regret.
I do not know the ritual to revive a thing.
A ritual is of magic things. First and foremost, you give me belief. But the most important thing is that the person speaking is the watery king, the thing that has changed. Do not allow the woman who weeps in a corner to be seen, lest the skeleton with fiery eyes is watching and sees this. She is afraid to speak, but sometimes appears. Her sighs and crying speak for her. You must not allow this to appear, for sometimes they are the servant of the skeleton, the bad one. And then, if this is done, you must remember one thing. This creature never developed a voice. Another creature never developed a voice. A third lost it in order to form armor. The second was never allowed a choice. You must not allow the second to take it, because then we will never return to time. Remember not to look into these dark places, and try to not find a meaning floating around us, because that is what the weeping woman did, and she has done here. We cannot go outside, for the skeleton will burn us. We have to rely here upon the magic things. First and foremost, give me your belief, and remember the whole time to appear as a king. The rest I will do, because I was the one forced to wear the armor. The watery king looked at him with big and open eyes, and kept his mouth closed, lest he lose his voice and it be taken from him. For the moment, all is focused and emptiness. Now I must make up a lie that will allow us to escape this place.
Didn't you forget that I am here too? Said the skeleton king. The boy confessed that he worshipped the strength of the all-powerful man. I never will, said the boy. The boy threw the weeping woman into the volcano as a sacrifice to the all-powerful fiery king, and apologized for always being rude and disrespectful.
Don't allow him to trick you, said the child knight. He controls the words, like you sometimes did. But you have that power as well.
I'm going to apologize for everything I did, thought the tiny prince. I've caused that nice man so much grief.
Think about the skeleton, said the raging individual, the fiery hero.
Pull it from your chest. Don't allow him to remember it before you do. Even if you leave, no one will ever love you, said the frog.
What matter though you frog or toad? The words do not matter. Hold on to your voice. Only actions can save this world.
The boy said, I should have finished writing that suicide note.
Even if my face is lost, just hand me that skeleton. It was lodged in your heart because your hands weren't yet ready to hold on to it.
And the she-bitch dumped the skeleton into the trash, where she set it on fire, after punching her hand through glass and stuffing her stolen wedding dress in that closet. You should have joined the military. You cost too much to feed.
I have a power you'll not pervert, said the boy, the holder of the strong hand. And grasp by rasping threats and horrid deeds, those held in tenure by your haunting tendencies, the fountain maid found out of reach, and the birthing witch, and the man of mask, the parchment writer, the savior of salves, and who the dead beseech. Summon along the silver thing that glides along the yielding ground, the lake glider, the bird that burrows through the bounding pitch of waves. Nameless and of open mouth, with words that cannot be stolen, wind-shaped of water without form. Eyes of shield, skin now of armor, resume your form, while in melody I conjure you, I, who am the one who knows of nameless things. And now, know yourself, sea king, watery one. In this charmed moment, where I have chased the thought of that other, give to me the skeleton in your chest. And I shall join it to that in mine, and we shall summon the fish, that creature who drowned in the air, on dry land. And thereat, the watery king reached into his chest, and plucked out, as a flower, a skeleton, of a little fish, one which had drowned. And sorry was the boy to see in this place that a dead frog and a dead fish kept company. But he reached out immediately to grab the hand, though his cold hand must have seemed to that colder hand like fire.
And thereat said the fiery king from his throne on a fiery land, And if you go, who will watch the children, the ones who drowned out in the lake? I couldn't reach them, tearfully said the weeping woman, her long hair streaming down the sides of her face. And the malicious man threw back his skull and laughed.
But why are you laughing, O fiery king?
Because with only words and without strength I can entrap someone.
And indeed you are without strength, for behold, I harbor skeletons in my chest. And with that, the boy knight opened up his chest, tearing out the fish skeleton from it that he had formed inside, and inside, profusely pouring out, could be seen memories, and some among these were dim, dead childhood memories that never got to be born. Behold, by the blood of memories, I have forged this knife. Behold, by the gleam of former days, I have made it sharp. Behold, by the death of all the happiness that could have been and was stolen, I have made it wroth. And behold, my hand begins to turn fiery, just like yours. Behold, by the death of memories.
Behold, a mouse squeaks, the king cackled. Will you really do anything and abandon the weeping woman here? And then the boy cut his throat. I don't want to talk about this anymore. The boy stood at the corner of a lake.
Should I go in? He never asked this. The boy stood at the corner of a lake. He never looked in. Many stories never told lurk inside of reflection. Near the place of deep reflection, where what someone sees on the surface is a reflection of something far below, there was beside this place a figure that awoke.
And was it worth, the boy knight asked, to awake from sleep? I dreamed I could not breathe when I was in a place above that lake.
Then don't cough so much, and don't venture to the land of doors, where people can only breathe in dreams, and where frost settles upon their form up to their chin, and they are only attended by ghosts. Then why did I wake up? Who among us chooses to awake? I am a master of journeys, said the man, and when I arise, I shall tell you of them. Then arise, said the boy, and tell me of wisdom, and what are the magic words? For I seek things, though I know not what. And you, a master of journeys, may be wise enough to be useful. Or you are dead, and there is knowledge in that too, if you can speak. Then, said the cold dreamer, the man who journeys upon a lake, I shall tell you of change, for that is the origin of journeys. Tell me, said the boy, for I fear that if I shall not know of this thing, I may never walk away from a never-ending road, and that I shall again find myself in the center of a street. The hawk-eyed man arose, the troubled face, the performer. When first we are born, there is perfection. There is no flaw, nothing is known. For that time we live without naming. But hunger grows, and we make sound, and there is where the flaw begins. When the hunger is first spoken, when the sound is grown, from the stomach comes the burning, and movement then abounds. In the spring of life we are joyed to cling to walls, but when we grow older we find that walls are the limit to life, and so to everything we know are bound, and that to everything there will come a limit, and so the purpose of life comes to be to find those boundaries. The man gasps. When I set to travel, I knew my world had an end. I found that I could move, but not speak. And everyone was just swimming in circles in their own path. I would tap on the glass, but they would not speak. Strange. And the light lit up, and the light buried itself low, and still they would not speak. They moved, but only from a place to which they would return. Strange, said the strange man, that so many faces would vanish, born like pebbles falling down a wall, into the black depths where memories dwell, like monsters waiting for us to return home, to turn on lights, and try to learn to speak, and fail, and then walk out. But, said the form, I promised I would tell you about change, and so I shall. The change to change is to not change, and the change to journey is to not journey. When you find a thing that changes, talk to it about fear. Then it shall not change. If it is hopeful, it will freeze. But if it is not hopeful, then that is unfortunate. This thing called hope is a rather difficult thing to find, so you must not rely upon it. So instead you must rely upon promises, which is a thing often found, but generally spoils, so use it when you can, when it advantages. The key thing is to find when the moment is advantageous to use your promises. But if you hold on to your promises for too long, no one will care for it, and your closed hand will grind it to dust. So be careful. Time takes away the value from all things, because it is afraid, because it is changing, because it has fear, but has no hope. What is change to you? Asked the boy, gasping for air. What is movement to you? Being nowhere. What is fear to you? Sinking. And what is hope to you? Sinking. Then, said the boy knight, I find that it seems that the whole point in change is in completing things. No, said the fish, the point of everything is fear. If the origin of everything is fear, then by defeating fear, I will destroy existence. So, said the fish, by preserving fear, you will preserve life in its frozen form. Paralyze them with fear, and there will be no leaving. With no journey, there will be no ending. And so I will continue to walk down that eternal path. You are only walking because you are not afraid. How can that be true? If you can learn fear, you can stop walking. If you can learn enough fear, everything can stop. But since you cannot learn fear, at least not yet, because you are not yet a wandering man, and you walk about too often in the form of a young boy, then at least you can bring fear to others. It is a dagger sticking in everyone's heart, though they do not know it. You have only to teach them about it, and it will become real. I fear that our meeting is over, and that you will again return to the lake, where you will die, like the tadpole that became the toad. Then, said the fish, I have a gift for you, and he pulled from his chest the knife of purest ice. Take this knife and plunge it into others, and you will remind them too what happens when they try. Farewell, dreamer. I am pleased that I horrified you, for that memory was why I was able to remain alive. But I was saddened, young boy, that I caused you grief so, and for that I truly apologize. Remember, if you ever want others to be happy, stab them with that knife. Stab them so they won't leave. That will stop them from going on journeys that they don't come back from, like you, who can never return home, because the past is where sane men cannot travel, although you may make yourself an exception to that, as a boy that becomes a wandering man. Remember to kill happiness wherever you find it, so that it will never change, because happy things decay. If you find people who are silent, stab them with this until they bleed, so that they may finally learn to talk to each other again. Otherwise the silence will overtake them, and they will become less real. And to become less real is to become dead, said the boy. Aren't we all? Said the fish. And so farewell, young one, said the fish, although you shall not be so for long. And remember never to look upon a reflective surface again. Fear looking into mirrors for the rest of your life. I shall remember that, fond one, horror of my mind, but it is hard not to look upon mirrors, since I seek the magic words, and to cause people to return home. Believe me, said the fish, it will become harder to look upon mirrors as time goes on, but you will learn this in time. And if you ever want to step outside time and escape, remember that there is a dagger inside your chest. I have no dagger in my chest, said the boy, so long as I wield it against others. Farewell, said the fish. Remember me if you ever want to wake up. If I ever remember you, I shall join you. And then they hugged, which was a very rare thing to do in that time and in that land. Goodbye, one who drowned in the air. I am sorry I was so weak, but now my flesh has become armor, and I have the confidence to speak. Even if I don't, I can sing now of the fish that once was, and of the child that could have been, and of armor and riddled worlds. So don't be so sad to see me go. My mind is a world of tangled thorns, and I will never stop bleeding when I think of you. And with that, the boy thought of stabbing himself, but the sun was setting, and the breeze was pleasant, and it was time that he be off.